The Indiana Basketball Weekly Show on the Grueling Truth Sports Network. As always, the Grueling Truth is powered by Betting.net. Betting.net is your best bet for finding the best online casino or sportsbook that's right for you. Make sure you check them out at Betting.net. In the description down below in the video, make sure you check out Caesars Sportsbook, which is our preferred book to use for the NCAA basketball tournament. And Steve, Indiana's played a game in the NCAA basketball tournament, which I didn't know if we would see that again for a while. And they won the game on top of that. So it's a good day to be a Hoosier fan. Tomorrow, number 5 seed St.Marys at 7:20 Eastern Time. What was your big takeaway from last night?
Well, I just got one word to describe last night's game. Geronimo! Come on, I worked all night on that one.
I hope not.
I did.
I hope not.
My takeaway, okay, God, it blew it, man. I was really pumped to be able to do that. I'm sure I'm the only person.
You should have warned me. I'd have laughed.
I'm the only person on the radio in the last 48 hours, 24 hours, who has started the show like that.
You're the only one left old enough to remember somebody actually screaming Geronimo.
Geronimo, yeah. No problem. I think this is the takeaway, and I'll try and be quick about it so I don't run half the show with my mouth. My takeaway was grinding. Grinding is one of the things you've got to do to win these things. You're going to have up and down moments in the tournament. You're not going to play 5 to 7 games. It's stellar defense, stellar offense throughout the game. You've got to grind. Indiana couldn't hit the broadside of a barn in the first 5 to 10 minutes of the game, but they grounded out with incredible defense. We'll talk about the stats involved in their defensive play, but I'm just impressed as hell with how Indiana came out firing. I mean, in terms of the intensity level in the game, they never backed their intensity up, even though they weren't hitting shots, and they applied that defense, that intensity to the defensive end, and really just almost immediately took Wyoming out of the game. What are your thoughts?
My thoughts are this. I mean, for the people, what was it, Seth on there saying that Wyoming was going to win the game, he's obviously never watched Wyoming, because when you watch this team play, you know, it seems like most of the shots are taken by Maldonado or Ikiki, you know, and the offense is basically Maldonado drives left, throws the ball into Ikiki, and everybody stands around and watches him play. They weren't hard to guard, put it like that. Now, those two players were both really good, but they took 30 of the 43 shots. I believe it was 30 to 43 shots that were taken. They scored 38 of the 58 points. They were a two-man show. Indiana's show was more than two people last night. Trey Jackson Davis, 29 points. He was dominating, 10 of 16. Indiana destroyed them on the glass, out-rebounded them 39 to 30. Xavier Johnson did not shoot the ball well, but he played okay. Jordan Geronimo, I thought, played outstanding, and I would like to bring up for the last month. I have brought up repeatedly. He should play more. Trey Galloway had a rough night. I thought Tamar Bates, for when he was in, did all right. Rob Fennessy only got 8 minutes. The guy that stood out to me that I see on a lot of message boards, people tearing up Parker Stewart. Parker Stewart, I don't care that he shot 2 for 6, and he only scored 4 points. He played 37 minutes of defense. They rotated him, Xavier Johnson, I think Miller Kopp on Maldonado. The main guy was Parker Stewart, though. Parker Stewart basically helped cause 10 turnovers of Wyoming's point guard Maldonado. So I think my unsung hero for this game is Parker Stewart, because people always say, well, he didn't score any points. But there's more to win basketball games than just scoring points. And when you got Trace putting up 30, you know, and you've got a guy like Parker Stewart limiting what Maldonado can do and forcing all those turnovers. I mean, to me, Parker Stewart gets a raw deal, and I've given him a lot of crap because of the way he's played offensively. But the way he played defensively last night fit in perfectly with what this team needed against those two guys.
I agree entirely. I didn't think that anybody that stepped into the game last night did not make contributions, positive contributions to the team while they were playing. Parker Stewart's a great example. I remember calling him out and writing his name down on my little note sheet by the TV when I was watching the game. That boy, is another great defensive play, good steal on his part. just stepping in, just a good help out on defense or good one-on-one defense. So just making the plays that needed to be made. And then when you got somebody like Geronimo coming off the bench and giving you 15 points off the bench in a solid effort, what Parker Stewart did, he played his role for the night. And trust me when I tell you, you know this, Mike, as a coach who's won 6 league championships with your arena football teams, playing your role in a tournament is critical. It's critical that you get everybody to play their role, and that's how teams win championships. And Parker Stewart certainly was a great example of doing that. While he didn't statistically look pretty on the floor, if you're an aficionado of the game, you saw the effort he was giving you and the plays he was making to help the team have that stalwart defense. Now, again, I think, we alluded to this in pregame, and I'll let you talk about that a little bit, but Wyoming is not a powerhouse. I mean, anybody that watched that game and thought
they're a good team. I mean,
put
it like this. If they play
for their league, they're a good team to play in their league.
Well, actually,
they're not a good team to play against a Big Ten team.
Well, I think that they would handle probably almost half of the Big Ten from what I saw.
I do not.
So you don't think Wyoming could handle Nebraska, Northwestern, Penn State? I think they can. They're just as good as.
I think the game. What it told me was, Mike, that leagues like the Big Ten play the game at a harder, faster pace than.
I thought Wyoming played plenty hard, and you heard Woodson say afterwards it was one of the hardest playing teams they played against. Well, the difference was this.
I think Mike might have been trying to find something nice to say about Wyoming, too.
Well, all I know is this. Indiana beat Wyoming by 8 points. It wasn't like it was a blowout. I think Indiana beat a good team. I don't think they played well. I think the game was ugly, but I think a lot of that comes from playing on Tuesday night when both teams had played as recently as Saturday in huge games. And I think this was more of a war of attrition and who wants it the most. And the biggest part to me is Indiana dominating the offensive glass, because the Cowboys' opponents were only getting 24.2% of their missed shots. This game, the stat that stood out to me was the Hoosiers grabbed 15 of their missed shots for an offensive rebounding percentage of almost 40%. Those 15 offensive rebounds turned into 16 points for Indiana. Wyoming only had 6 second chance points. That's the difference in the game to me, was just Indiana's ability to rebound the basketball. And the thing is this, even if you're not shooting well, you can still rebound and you can still play defense. And Indiana did both of those at a very high level.
Agreed. I mean, it was a game one on the defensive end of the floor. Indiana only shot, 41% for the game, only 15% from three-point land.
Yeah, so, they only made 2 threes.
Yeah, it was not a great offensive night for Indiana. Take aside Trey Jackson, going 10 for 16.
Well, Jackson and Geronimo, if you take them away, they were 17 out of 28, which means the rest of the team was like 9 out of 34?
Yeah, you take those 2 away, and we're below 40% shooting for the night.
You take those 2 away, we lose the game by 40.
Possibly so.
Of course, then if you take our 2 guys away, you got to take their best 2 guys away, and then we win 12-9.
Probably.
So
I thought with about 6 minutes to go in the first half, that's what the score was going to be. Other things that impressed me, and this is what you've got to have, Mike, and you know this as well as anybody, again, in your coaching situation, only 8 turnovers in the game. And that's a must. You cannot give the ball up in tournament play, and you cannot continue to give the ball up on turnovers and give the other team.
Well, how about this, Steve? They made
turnovers.
They made a lot more threes, but in the end, and Indiana didn't shoot free throws well, but neither did they. But the difference in this game is the 39-30 rebounding advantage and the 19-8 turnover advantage.
Exactly.
Because extra shots, this is all kind of extra possessions. The only thing that worries me, and it doesn't really worry me because Indiana won. But if you play St.Marys like this, you're going to lose because you have got to shoot the ball a little bit better. I thought the offense, especially the perimeter offense, was a little stagnant at times. And I think that sometimes when they threw the ball into Trace, there was a tendency to kind of stand and watch him instead of trying to work to get open in case he needed to kick the ball out.
Well, and that's kind of a natural thing when you got a player as hot as Trace doing all the work for you. Uh, they know that as hot as he is, the ball's probably not coming back out. And justifiably, it probably shouldn't have come back out because we weren't shooting the ball well. And he was scoring virtually every time he put his hands on the ball or getting himself on the free throw line. How many free throws did he shoot?
Who's that?
Trace.
Trace? He shot 11. And the big thing is not how many he shot. It's actually he made 9 out of 11.
9 out of 11. And we had.
We were 3 for 9, everybody else shooting free throws.
Xavier was the next best at 3 for 5. So.
Yeah. So, and Xavier only shot 3 for 12.
We were 12 for 20 on the free throw line. He made 11 of those 12.
So, how about this, Steve? If you've played, now Indiana's played what? They played 1, 2, 3, 4 games in like 7 days. Do you think that had a lot to do with the shooting? And the lack of, maybe just not having the legs? Because Xavier Johnson's played a lot of minutes. Miller Kopp's usually over half the game. Do you think that has anything to do with the poor shooting? And Trey Galloway was absolutely horrendous last night. And I love Trey Galloway, but he did not play well last night.
Yeah, I think the team's a little tired for sure. Justifiably, they played 3 hard games in the Big Ten tournament. That was not an easy road for Indiana to take. To beat Michigan, to beat Illinois, and then to finally get knocked off, against Iowa. All 3 very brutal physical games. I don't know how Indiana got to Dayton. I know when we played in '81, when we played Maryland and Dayton, we took a bus. We did.
Well, back then, Steve, you guys didn't have planes, right? It was just the Wright brothers.
Oh no,
Dayton.
we had a beautiful plane.
All that long ago, there was planes. Hell,
oh yeah,
I didn't know.
We had to wind them up. They had rubber bands on them. We just wound them up, but no, we had a gorgeous plane. But I remember distinctively taking a bus from Bloomington to Dayton. And the long way, we came up 37 and went right out 70. So that's a long bus ride. You don't get any rest on a bus when you're 6'8", and you're on a Vista Cruiser that's made for people 5'8". So I don't know how that, but yeah, I'm sure the team is a little tired now. Tell us what happened last night. I did not know this. I have not read all of Twitter yet, but what happened to the team last night?
Yeah, the plane did not leave until 4 o'clock in the morning. I guess it was Parker Stewart's fault because they said that they would not leave the tarmac until he made a 3. So at about 4 o'clock, after 4 hours of shooting threes, Parker Stewart banked one in. The team left. They got there at like 8 or 9 this morning. That's a complete joke because I still think Parker Stewart was a huge reason why they won last night because of his defense. My concern here is you play St.Marys next. St.Marys causes, I think, significant matchup issues for almost anybody.
And that's a long haul to Portland too. That's no easy flight.
Yeah, it's a very long haul to Portland. And to play a team like St.Marys will be better rested. I think they lost in the conference semifinals to Gonzaga, so I think they played their last game on Friday. They've been off since then. They didn't have to play a first 4 game. If you want to bet the game on Caesars Sportsbook, right now St.Marys is only a 2.5-point favorite. The Gales are ranked 18th. They've gone 12-3 against WCC teams. Of course, we know who they lost to. They lost to Gonzaga twice, and I believe they lost to San Francisco the other time. I think Matthias Tass is their best player. He's a very good rebounder. I think he averages like 7 rebounds a game. He's like 6'9", 6'10". He's a big dude. When you look at this game, these teams are very similar, I think. Both teams are great defensively. If you look over the last 10 games, the Gales are 7-3, the Hoosiers are 5-5. The Gales have averaged 69 points a game. The Hoosiers have averaged 69 points a game. Indiana 32 rebounds, St.Marys 29. Indiana shot 45% from the field. The Gales have shot 47%. And the Gales have held, this is the thing, the Gales have held teams to 67.9 points per game. and the Hoosiers have held their opponents to 67.2. So we've got two teams in our last 10 games have averaged scoring 69 points and have averaged given up 67 points. So when you look at this, Steve, I think the Hoosiers have the. I think this. I would take Indiana in the points easily if it wasn't for all these games that have been played lately. But when I look at St. Mary's, and you take a deep look at what their season's been, you look at the better teams they played. They beat Texas Southern 67-58. We watched Texas Southern last night against Texas A&M Corpus Christi, and to me, it looked like a JUCO game. They beat Bellarmine, who won out of the A-Sun, but did not get to go to the tournament because they hadn't been 5 years in the NCAA yet. They only beat them by 9. They beat Notre Dame at Notre Dame by 3. They beat Oregon by 12. But Oregon's nothing special. They lost to Wisconsin 61-55. They lost to Colorado State, another tournament team, 74-58. They beat Yale 67-50. They're a tournament team, but that's just because of the grace of God they won the conference tournament or whatever it was. San Diego State, to me, outside of the WCC, is the best team they played. And San Diego State beat them 63-53. I don't know. When I look this, you see a loss to Santa Clara by 5, a loss to Gonzaga by 16, a loss to Gonzaga by 13. The best wins this team have been a 5-point win over San Francisco and a 2-point win over San Francisco. This schedule does not stack up to what Indiana has played, and I know we ripped their non-conference, but Indiana's non-conference is very similar to what St. Marys played, and I think Indiana wins this game, Steve, if they've got enough left in the tank, which I think is the big question right now headed into this game.
Yeah, I think definitely fatigue is definitely going to be a key issue. Hopefully, Mike, and again, I know Mike has been through this a number of times. He's smart enough to know this. Rest is what they need more than anything right now, especially given IU's schedule. So you're spot on there. You know, my takeaways are Indiana has to maintain the level of intensity they played against Wyoming. I liked the intensity. They've got to maintain that defensive intensity for the entire 40 minutes of play like they did
because this could literally be a 50-49 game.
Yeah, I expect it to be, truthfully. I do. I expect it to be a low-scoring game. I don't expect it to be, now mark my words, we'll be talking about this Friday morning.
It'll be 86-85.
It'll be a 95-90 game, straight out of the Tom Crean book of college basketball. And I think Indiana's going to have to come out shooting better. They can't because they'll get in. Wyoming was not good enough to put Indiana in a hole in the beginning of the game. Their shooting and their ability to manufacture points was no better than we were at hitting shots in the first 5 to 10 minutes of the game. And that saved Indiana a lot of trouble because we could have easily very quickly been down 10, 12 points. And the shot selection, Mike, and I think you agree, was very good for Indiana at the beginning of the game.
Yeah, they just weren't making the shot.
Our threes we were taking were wide open. Our mid-range jumpers were open. We just weren't hitting anything. And that, you just shake your head and go, it's just that kind of night. Not bad shot selection anywhere. We went to the hole. We just missed bunnies. We missed putbacks on rebounds. So we can't have that happen against St. Marys because St. Marys is good enough offensively that they'll put you in a hole real quick. And in tournament play, the last thing you want to do is when you have a limited amount of it anyways, expending a lot of energy digging out of a hole. You want to play these teams as even as possible until somebody wears down or until you start really kicking in your offense and start drilling shots like Jordan did when he came into the game. I mean, the spark he gave that team offensively pretty much ignited that team offensively when he came in. When he started hitting, the rest of the team started hitting too, for the most part.
Yeah, and I want to talk a little bit more about him in a second, but real quick, betting.net finds the best promotions, offers, and bonus codes so you don't have to. Make sure you head out over to their website now to take advantage of things like free bets and matching deposits. Make sure you check it out. And also make sure you click on the link of the description and the video for Caesars Sportsbook. All right, you talked about George Geronimo. The guy that he reminded me of would have been 1981 NCAA tournament, and that would be Jim Thomas. Jim Thomas, that Final Four game against
Oh, you were
LSU,
going to say
kind of
me.
the same thing. No, because, I mean, you weren't that athletic. You were athletic for a big white guy that was 6'8", but Jim Thomas could get after it. And, I mean, Jim Thomas showed you that points weren't what wins games a lot of times. And I think Geronimo, his points were awesome last night, but it's just the energy he gave coming off the bench remind me a lot of Jim Thomas during that 1981 Final Four.
I would agree entirely. Same style of play. No fear to take a shot when the shot was open and taken to him. Jimmy had that same concept. Jimmy didn't seek out a lot of shots because we had Whitman and Kitchell and Tolbert and Landon and Isaiah, and me and Jimmy basically were our 7 guys that were playing. And Jimmy was a guy who ran the offense, made very few mistakes. But when the shot came to him and when he was wide open, Jimmy just set up and just fired it like he was part of the offense, a regular part of the offense, and made most of his shots because he took great shots, good shot selection, and went to the hole hard and then had an incredible leaping ability for his. I think he was maybe 6'3", if that. That would be probably.
And the impressive thing about the game I remember about him, you guys were down 10 to LSU. He comes in the game, and I think he only played like 17 minutes in the game, but I think he had like 9 or 10 rebounds.
Yeah.
And Indiana pulled away, won the game, I think like 67-49, and that was a really good LSU team.
Yeah, that's when somebody ended up in a trash can, courtesy Bob Knight.
Yeah, wasn't that the Rudy Mackland, Ethan Martin, Howard Carter,
Dwayne
Greg
Scales.
Cook, Leonard Mitchell. Now, Scales was, I think, before that.
No, I thought he was on that team.
Well, I'm looking at the box score, which I could have only named, honestly, Rudy Mackland, Howard Carter, and Ethan
Maybe Scales
Martin.
wasn't. I always thought he was on
the
team.
thing that surprised me here when I looked at this was everybody on that LSU team played almost the entire game. I mean, you had a few guys in the last 10 minutes when this blowout got in. Let's see what Steve Risley did. Steve Risley, 0 for 2 shooting. What are you doing out there, Risley? 1 for 2 at the free throw line? 2 rebounds in 10 minutes.
Did my part.
Glenn Grunwald scored more points than you did, as did Chuck Franz.
Did they really?
Yeah. Chuck put up 2 points, and Glenn Grunwald put up 3 points. Hey, I didn't realize Steve Bushy was on that team. I thought Bushy was after that. So Bushy'd have been, what, a freshman or sophomore?
Sophomore, I think. I don't remember.
Yeah, because I know he was a big part of the 82 team that had the injury issues.
Yeah.
All right.
I will say I had wrenched my back very badly and was getting cortisone shots before every game in my back and had a slit disc for that whole tournament. And
plus, wasn't that the game where you lost your leg and it had to be sewn back on?
No, that was that was
before the NIT final, wasn't it? In '79.
That was before the NIT final in '79. Yeah, I made a hard cut and the damn thing just fell off. I went and it stayed. And they had to take me to the locker room at halftime and good old Dr. Rink, who's a cardiologist who sits on the team bench with the team, sewed it back on right there.
Yeah, and you won the NIT.
Yeah, we won the NIT, thanks to me.
Who had the winning shot in that? Was that Butch?
Butch Carter.
That's what I thought. But anytime we can beat Purdue, it's good to talk about. And right now, will Indiana beat St.Marys, Steve?
Well, they have to play better than they did last night to beat them. They cannot have the offensive lapse to start the game, and they have to maintain the defensive intensity that they showed from the get-go of the game. They have to come out with the same level of intensity. Again, the depth of play last night, they just couldn't pull away far enough to get other guys in the game and give guys rest. You know, they had to maintain the core offense in the game to continue to maintain some kind of a lead, because really the 8 to 10 point lead just came at the end of the game. And this thing was a 3 to 5 to 6 point game all the way through until about the last 2 or 3 minutes of the game. So my takeaways are this: you have to come out shooting better. Can't fault shot selection. Shot selection was good. Keep running the offense like you did. Just make shots and maintain defensive pressure as they did. Maintain your intensity on both ends of the court as they did. I thought Indiana maintained its intensity for about as long as you would expect a basketball team to do in a tournament game. And
Yeah, I thought the intensity was there the entire night. I
Yeah,
thought
I
the
agree.
intensity.
Yeah.
I think the intensity for both teams was there, but I also
Yeah.
know this: in playing a game like that, I mean, a lot of times you never really catch your breath, if you know what I mean. It's just like everybody's kind of
Right.
playing the same way, and it ends up just being kind of a free for all and a fight, and whoever wants it the most wins it.
Yeah.
I will take that with this team because this team may be flawed, for lack of a better term, but those flaws are not in how hard they play, and I think Coach
Agreed.
Wilson deserves all the credit for that.
Agreed. Mike gets him playing hard. You can watch how animated he is on the sideline. I tell you what, I played with him for 3 years, and I don't think I ever saw him as animated on the court as he is as a coach. As a player, I never saw him that animated as he is as a coach. So,
You know why? Coaching is worse than playing when it comes to that. Because
oh,
coaching, you
there's no
can't do
doubt.
a damn thing
Can't
about
do a
it.
damn thing about it. No. I when I was coaching my teams, I was like, drove me crazy. It's like, and I think that's why you rarely do you see great players ever become great coaches. Guys like Magic Johnson and Larry Bird. Well,
Larry
Bird
Bird did all right.
got a team to the NBA Finals, but the guys like that, they're such great players. They just don't understand why people can't do what they could do, and it becomes very hard for the coach. But I think.
So are you saying that was your issue when you coached that first grade team?
No, it was actually a sixth grade team, and I took them to sixth place in the AAU national championship.
But there was only 7 teams
with only one loss. No. It started off with about 6,000 teams.
Did you just brag about 6th place?
Yeah, we only had one loss. We got beat on a buzzer jumper. A jumper can hit a half-court shot at the buzzer to beat us by 1 point.
But you came in 6th.
Then we came back and won the next game by 40 points.
But you came in 6th.
Yeah, well, that was just the way it all fell out based on where you lost your game.
Well, just remember what Ricky Bobby says.
If you ain't first, you're last.
Yes, you are. So
I hear you.
All right. I think Indiana.
I want to go fast.
I think Indiana wins this game. I think the key is they need Miller Kopp or Trey Galloway to give them some kind of offense.
Yeah, and Miller took good shots last night.
Yeah, he just didn't make them.
He just didn't make them. I mean, I can't fault Miller Kopp for forcing any issues. He's a streak shooter, and I know from what we've all heard that Mike has really pushed him to shoot the ball more, and I think he's got to keep shooting because when he gets it, he's a streak shooter. He'll come down and drill 2 or 3 in a row for you, and just give your team that kind of quick lift. And Miller Kopp is capable of putting 8 to 9 to 10 to 12, 14 points on the board for you very quickly. And he's not afraid to shoot. He only takes shots that he knows that he's open for and that he's earned that shot. He doesn't force any shots really to any great degree. So I want him to keep shooting the ball. They're going to fall. They'll fall. Galloway, Galloway's hustle on the court, his intensity is among the best on that basketball team. I don't know that anybody plays at a higher level of intensity on both ends of the court and running the floor than Trey does. And again, I would, he needs to look to shoot more too, as far as I'm concerned. He goes to the hole hard. And I just think these guys, they get looking to dump in, and I want them to dump in, so it's a hard call. It's really a hard call, but keep taking your open jumper if you got it. The more you can spread the wealth of guys getting good shots, the better off this team's going to be. But the first move every time down is to punch it in, and then if Race or Trace don't have it, if Race or Trace don't have the shot, They've got to learn to kick it back out.
Is that a rotary phone, Steve?
No, that is
Damn.
no.
Just a dumbass ringtone. All right.
Yeah, it is.
Indiana win or lose, Steve?
I say Indiana by 5 in a very tight game all the way through.
I say Indiana 62-61.
That's 5, yep.
That's 1.
Oh, 62-61.
Ah, hell. They said he played it. We said he played it. Indiana won a national championship. We didn't say he graduated.
I did. With a business degree, no doubt.
Well, that makes it even scarier. But
From the Kelly School of Business.
Remember, betting.net finds the best promotions, offers, and bonus codes so you don't have to. Head over to their website now to take advantage of free bets and matching deposits. Steve, tonight at 8 o'clock, we will be back with the NFL show. Our NFL beat writer, Dan Kornhauser, will be back with us to talk about all the free agency moves. If you're a Colts fan, well, if we talk about all the free agency moves, it's going to be a very short show where we're going to talk about other teams, and I'm sure Steve is going to bring up the Colts tonight, so you won't want to miss that.
Somebody can explain to me why they've got $70.5 million of cap space and have not spent a penny yet.
They didn't find anybody they liked yet.
I guess not. Hell, Randy Gregory was available.
Yeah,
Randy Gregory went to Denver. He could have come to Indianapolis.
Yeah, Randy coming back to Indianapolis would probably not be a good thing.
Well, you know why he went to Denver, don't you?
Well, yeah, it's legal.
Pot's legal.
That's what I just said.
He doesn't get in trouble there.
Well, yeah. Well, he'll figure out another way to do it. All right, guys, we will be back Thursday after the Indiana St.Marys game at approximately 9:30 to 9:45 p.m. to break down the Hoosiers win and look forward to the Hoosiers game against the UCLA Bruins, which would be a rematch of the 76 Final Four, which worked out for the Hoosiers 64-50 or 65-50. And my favorite IU game that wasn't a Final Four game. You remember when they played the McLean kid and Tracy Murray in 92 out, I think, was it in Utah? Or it might have been California, and they just beat the brakes off of them. I think they beat them like 106-72 or something, and UCLA was supposed to beat Indiana. So,
well, I got two things. Let's get by St. Mary's before we start worrying about UCLA.
I'm not worried about them. I just wanted to look back because I like to look back instead of forward.
Here's an interesting fact to leave you on that I was not aware of until I read Twitter this morning. In the last 3 of the last 4 times Indiana has made the dance, which was dating back to pre-2016, they were in the Sweet 16 3 of the 4 times.
Okay.
And why did we fire Tom Crean?
Because you didn't like him because he didn't play defense.
Okay. That's
well, hey, you know what? I mean, Georgia just fired Tom Crean too. So
did they? Did Georgia get rid of him?
Yeah, because I think they won like -16 games this year and got beat by 150
they didn't wait 9
in the
years
SEC tournament.
to do it. They didn't wait 9 years to do it either.
No, they only waited 3 or 4 years. But then again, Tom Crean didn't take them to a few Sweet 16s. What are you squinting at? You get a bug on your screen?
No, my son's trying to get a hold of me for something.
Oh, well, go talk to him. We're going to wrap it up. You can follow Steve Risley at SRisley34. You can follow me at Grilling Truth. Make sure you like us, thumbs us up, subscribe to us on YouTube. Check out Caesars Sportsbook in the little area down below where you just click right to it. It'll take you there to bet on the games. And bet on Rutgers tonight to beat Notre Dame. But for now, I'm Mike Goodpaster. He's Steve Risley. You've been watching and listening to The Grueling Truth.